Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Nick Cubley, and today we needed to have a quick talk about the UK Season 7 premiere because it was a mess. From weird challenges to confusing judging and unnecessary twists, this premiere seemed to get everything wrong, and it makes me worried for this season, so let's discuss. If you're new here, be sure to like and subscribe down below, and let's get right into it. So, the first thing I really want to talk about is the weird challenge concept. It's like a mini challenge upgraded to the maxi challenge at the last second. The queens have to present a runway for the Brit Awards and answer some questions from the VIQs, which are Plain Jane, Marina Summers, Tessa Testicle, Angeria, and Bag of Chips. Which, side note, is such an interesting mix of queens that I never thought I'd seen an episode together. They get to present a look and then answer a couple questions in a red carpet interview. And this doesn't sound too bad until you realize that the interview portion of the challenge, 15 seconds, 2 questions for each queen, and it ends up being the only important part of the challenge. This is also a problem with the judging, but we'll get to that soon. I'm sure the interview portion was edited down, but it was really awkward even with the edited down version. Barely any of the queens had chemistry during the interviews with the VIQs, but it's not entirely their fault. It felt like the VIQ queens were also trying to get laughs to the point where Ru was essentially laughing at them the entire time. So it seemed like the true winners of the challenge were the VIQs, and they outshined the queens, which is never good for premiere. But the next thing we need to talk about is the judging, and more specifically about the winner of this episode, Elle Vosk. I'm not trying to send any hate, but why did she win this episode? I can agree that she was one of the best in the interview portion, but both of her looks were really bad. And I got the impression that over half of the challenge score would be based on the looks, and not just the 30-second interview portion. On top of that, Ru seemed to be laughing at Plain Jane most of the time during her interview, instead of her. And the cherry on top is that her runway was supposed to be the Titanic Museum, but I agree with Bones that she was basically just wearing tinfoil, and in my opinion had the worst runway of the night, almost by far. But they found her personality charming, and I guess that was the real challenge of the episode, so props to her. Still, it feels really weird and unsatisfying. I feel like page 3 was probably the most consistent and deserved the win. Both of her outfits were amazing, and they were maybe my favorite in each category. And she seemed to do well in the interview from what we saw. I thought for sure she was going to win the episode, but then they give her the classic critique of breaking out of her shell and being more goofy and that she's too polished, which is so overplayed at this point. And honestly, I didn't even get the vibe that she was reserved or unwilling to be goofy or dumb, even in the challenge. So that just felt very forced. I don't know, overall, the underdog storyline felt very forced for Elle Vosk, and the breaking out of their shell storyline felt really forced for page 3, and at least in this episode, and it makes me worried for them going forward. Also, Katrin Feelings being at the top felt kind of off as well. And she did do well in the interview portion, but Michelle straight up says in the critiques that she didn't like either of her outfits. Which goes back to my other point that the runways didn't matter at all in this episode. It was all up to a very short interview with a random queen. In terms of who I think should have been in the top, I think Sally TM really stood out in this episode. She had some really out-of-the-box looks, and she made Ru burst out laughing during the interview. So I think she did at least deserve the top spot, even though her runway was a little underwhelming for me. Plus, she reminds me of Dawn, and I love Dawn, so bonus points for that. The two others that I think deserve a shout out are Bones and Celexa. I think overall they had the best outfits along with page 3. Celexa's interview was pretty bad, I gotta admit, so I can see why she wasn't in the top, but Bones' interview was good enough, and her looks were top-notch, so in my opinion, she also deserved the top spot. Now, I do agree with the bottoms, unfortunately. Patsy's runways were fine, if not a little generic, and her interview was pretty awkward, so she deserved to be in the bottom too. Tayrus McGarty probably had the worst interview, but I did like both of her looks a lot, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from her. But who I really want to talk about is Nyan Bella, because Nyan Bella got the stupid Marie Antoinette comment, which I hate, so we have seen it a lot. But we've seen a lot of repeats in Drag Race in terms of fashion. To be fair, I think Marmalade did get this warning from Michelle last season when she wore a Marie Antoinette look, but still, I don't care, I hate that critique, and I think Michelle should chill out on that. Plus, in my opinion, she actually showed personality in the interview and played a song through her nose. She was one of the only ones that I thought stood out in the interview, and was one of the few ones I remembered, even after watching the episode for the first time. To be fair, her Clocks runaway did leave a lot to be desired, but as we know, the runways seemed to barely matter in the judging this episode, so... However, I will say she did stand out to me as one of my personal favorites this episode, and I'm rooting for her, even though she was in the bottom 2. I just hope she can rebound from this pretty quickly and get back on the right track. So then we get into the end of the episode, and the cow twist comes into play. This twist I think was supposed to be similar to the Golden Beaver in Canada's Drag Race, which is one of the few twists I actually love. However, instead of the winning queen getting to save someone from the bottom 3, the top and save queens get to vote to save a bottom queen. The problem is that they don't announce who wins the vote until after they lip sync, which in theory means that regardless of whoever wins the lip sync and whoever goes home, production can rig it so that they get the result they want. This might be going into conspiracy territory, but I think that they were going to save whoever won this lip sync regardless of who won the vote. It's given the same energy as the chocolate bar twist or the Badonkadonk tank from season 17. Their twist design is a get out of jail free card for production, and it's just plain annoying. The other problem with this twist is that if they do this every week, then depending on how the queens vote, a queen could theoretically be saved every single week, and the chances of another double save or two are pretty high in that scenario. So if production uses this twist as a get out of jail free card, it's just them rigging the season straight up. But then even if they go by the twist naturally and actually go by the rules that they set, it causes the problem of having multiple double saves in the season and possibly turning into another UK Season 3 situation where it was just chaos. Honestly, I wish they either just did what Canada does and just did the Golden Beaver again and just renamed it the Golden Cow or whatever, or they just made this episode a top 2 and no one goes home. Either of those options would have been better than this. We'll see how this twist plays out in the future episodes, and maybe I'll change my mind on it, but right now, I just don't like it at all. And it's making me really worried for the season in general. So, overall, this was not the video I was expecting to make. The UK franchise overall actually has a pretty good track record. I would say that seasons 1, 2, 5, and 6 have all been great, and I was expecting for season 7 to continue that trend. But this premiere has me worried with the 4 storylines, the confusing challenge, the dumb twists, and the weird judging. One positive I can say about this premiere is that the cast is pretty entertaining, and I think that they have a lot of potential. I just hope production doesn't ruin their potential, like we've seen in multiple seasons in the past. Alright, and that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe down below. Also, if you made it this far in the video, you're a real one and I love you. Alright guys, I'll see you very soon with a new video. Peace.